Hello, I'm Chris. Welcome back to FRAG-MENTAL. Thank you for joining me. The weather outside is frightful. Baby, when it's cold outside, we need strength. We need power. We need beast mode fragrances that are perfect for the cold weather. I was trying to do an intro that was worthy of a beast mode fragrances video, a beast mode intro if you like, but I was struggling to hold it together. Right, I've gathered together a selection of fragrances from my collection that are amongst the strongest that I own. I don't get to wear these fragrances very often, but when it gets cold outside, that is when I deploy these beast mode weapons. I've got a mix of designer and niche fragrances in this video. The first one is a designer fragrance. I think beast mode designer fragrances are quite rare, but this one, this definitely is beast mode. From Dior, it's Sauvage Elixir. Spices, lavender, licorice, amber, everything is dialed up to 11 in this fragrance, including the price. Yeah, I think this is about £125 for this 60ml bottle. You might be able to get it a little bit cheaper now, but when I bought this, that is what it cost. That is definitely at the higher end of pricing for a designer fragrance, but I think you actually get what you pay for because you get the quality of Dior. You get a very strong fragrance and you get a pretty mass appealing fragrance too. So it ticks a few boxes. I'm not sure if you can hear that rain out there, but it is actually beating down on the windows of this room. So apologies if you get that background noise, but I'm going to push on regardless. At this stage, I've got to say, Dior is potentially my favorite designer fragrance brand. For me, it's always been between Tom Ford and Dior. I know Tom Ford have a higher frequency of releases, but some are better than others, where I feel like Dior, although they release fewer fragrances, I think they're a little more consistent in the quality. You absolutely get that quality with Sauvage Elixir, but you've got to be careful with this one because there's a fine line between spraying the right amount and overspraying this. And if you do overspray it, it's the sort of fragrance that's maybe got a few notes that can become a little bit abrasive if there's too much pumping off you. So you've just got to be careful. I would say you're probably looking at around 4 sprays of this one will be about the right amount. I think this smells fantastic. Great release from Dior. The smell is more akin to a niche fragrance. The strength, the power, the performance of this, definitely more like niche fragrances, but it's not, it's designer. It's done really well. Nuclear stuff from Dior. Boozy notes always work well in the cold weather, and this is one of the best boozy fragrances. It's one that I don't really want to share with people because it's quite precious to me, but inevitably when you spray this on, it's so powerful, you can't help but share it. From Killian, it's Angel SH. Gorgeous, smooth, warming brandy, sticky sweet fruit, spices, vanilla, and praline. This is a real luxurious, decadent scent. It just smells super expensive, and it is pretty expensive actually, but it's thick, it's rich, it's full-bodied, it's sweet. This smells a little bit like a spiced apple pie, drizzled with cognac. The great thing about this fragrance is there are no notes in it that could become a little bit obnoxious if you do overspray it, like with Sauvage Elixir. This is super smooth, well-rounded, perfectly blended. You can pretty much spray as much of this as you want and you're not going to piss anyone off, other than maybe yourself, because you're going to run your bottle down a bit faster. It's got a very soft, rounded, dessert-like profile, but despite this, it still manages to be powerful. It still manages to project a lot. If you walk into a room with this fragrance, you're going to be sharing it with everybody in that room. Tom Ford's Noir Extreme is a beautiful scent. It's sexy, it's compliment-getting. As much as I love it, it does lack a little bit of oomph, but with this next fragrance, they've addressed that. This is Tom Ford's Noir Extreme Parfum with added oomph. It's got the spicy dessert-like quality of Noir Extreme, but also a good dollop of leather, which adds that oomph. The cardamom pops and grabs attention. The leather brings weight and gravitas. You've got all the compliment-getting factors of the original Noir Extreme, so you have a sexy, edgy fragrance full of attitude. If you want something sexy and compliment-getting that smashes through the cold winter air, with oomph, Noir Extreme Parfum. Here's another Elixir. This one is just as nuclear as Sauvage Elixir. From Centauri Parfums, it's Elixir. More booze, more cognac in fact, but the heart of this fragrance is a delicious coffee caramel combo. This is quite an arresting fragrance, but in a really good way. It's got a sharpness to it. It's very attention grabbing. I think maybe it's the coffee smell, you know, when you walk into a house and you instantly get that very comforting smell of coffee. I think even people who aren't coffee drinkers still can appreciate that lovely aroma of coffee. So you get that with this fragrance. I'd classify this as a real statement making fragrance. You walk into a room, it's not the type of scent that is just going to blend into the background. It's not going to blend into that smell of fragrances that other people are wearing. This one is going to stand out. It's going to be in sharp focus the whole time. Attention grabbing for all the right reasons. It's very assertive, but it's nicely balanced out with that sweet, delicious, mouth-watering caramel. Powerful, potent stuff from Centauri Parfums. Well done, Peter. Next is one of my favorite amouage fragrances, and I think this is easily the best amouage fragrance for the cold weather. Over to your man. Cognac, again, beautiful poppy zingy spices, grapefruit, sweet incense, and leather. I know that's a bold statement to make, best amouage fragrance for the cold weather, because it's got some competition. There's some fantastic beast mode amouage fragrances. We've got Interlude Man, we've got Interlude 53, Interlude Black Iris, all the interludes. Royal Tobacco, they work so well. They're such heavy fragrances full of high quality ingredients, natural ingredients. But there's something about this, there's something about that cognac. There's something about how the cognac blends so smoothly into the grapefruit, and the grapefruit blends so smoothly into the leather, then the leather blends so smoothly into the incense. Everything is just buttery smooth with this scent. It's strong, it's powerful, it cuts through the air, it's not obnoxious, it's complex, but it's still mass appealing enough. Super satisfying to wear. You're gonna feel like $1 million when you wear this fragrance. I like to wear this in the winter when I'm dressed up smart. Maybe I've got a high neck wool sweater on, my smart leather blazer, perhaps a scarf. I'm walking around a bit outside, and then maybe I'm going to some sort of event. It's so suave, very sophisticated, very powerful. It's got this almost endless depth to it. I like to wear this when I'm dressed to impress, but I think it's safe to say that this fragrance makes me smell way more impressive than I look. I know amouage fragrances are a little on the pricier end of things, so I wanted to include a fragrance that is way down the other end, the more affordable end, which might appeal to some people. Well, everyone likes an affordable fragrance, so I'm sure it'll appeal to everyone. This is not a new fragrance. You'll have heard me talk about this loads. It is one of the highest quality, best value fragrances, I think, on the market. I'm quite astonished, actually, that you can get this fragrance for this price. It's Bentley for Men Intense. That booze just keeps on flowing. This time we've got rum, leather, incense, and creamy, rich woods. The extraordinary thing about this fragrance is that it smells as rich, as luxurious, as expensive as fragrances that cost hundreds of pounds, yet you can pick this up 100ml for just £27. What? Don't know why it's so cheap. I'm not going to ask too many questions because I don't want to find out how they can make such an amazing smelling fragrance for such a low cost. If you want a rich, luxurious, expensive smelling scent, if you're on a budget, if you want to go around telling people you own a Bentley, you got to get your nose on this beauty. This next fragrance is new to me. It's a brand new fragrance just on the market this year. I have been loving wearing this, and whenever I've worn it, I've been filling my entire house. Like 3 floors of the house smells of this fragrance. From Argos Fragrances, not the catalogue shop, before you all put that in the comments like you love to do when I mention Argos. It's so funny, same name as a UK high street catalogue shop. Gotta mention it in the comments because it's just the same name, and that's just extraordinary that 2 products could be called the same thing. Fall of Phaeton from Argos Fragrances. Bright citrus, zingy spices, lavender, leather, tonka bean, and vanilla. So this is a very addictive sort of a smell. It's sweet, it's rich, it makes me think of sugar-coated almonds, of marzipan, of amaretto sours, drinks, slight sort of bakery vibes, maybe a little like cherry bakewell sort of a thing. So definitely some dessert-like gourmand things going on with Fall of Phaeton. It's got masses of depth, but it's not a heavy, weighty fragrance. It's not too dense. It's got a real airiness to it, it's got a brightness to it, which I think are qualities that help it project so well. Very mass appealing fragrance, also very strong. This is Fall of Phaeton from Argos Fragrances, not Argos on the high street. If you go to Argos on the high street, you will not find this fragrance. If you want David Beckham fragrances, they might sell things like that, but they definitely do not sell this. I'll tell you who does. Me, at my website, Lux Parfum. There will be a link in the description. Check it out. This Next fragrance. I can't understand why I don't hear more about it. This is an incredible fragrance that no one's talking about. You've got to check out Ramesses I from Victoria Parfums. Parfums? You've got to check out Ramesses I from Victoria Perfumes. Sea salt, saffron, osmanthus, oak moss, and oud. Honestly guys, this is a gem of a fragrance, and I'm not just saying that to try and flog it on my website. I don't even have this on the website. It is just an incredible scent. It's bright, it's a little bit salty, a little bit fruity, slightly creamy. It's got an amazing, slightly medicinal oud done with the lightest of touches. One of the best new fragrances I've smelled in a long time. I've not smelled anything else like this. It's insane. My brother-in-law Matt, you may have seen him on some of my videos. I've given him a couple of decants and he sent me a message the other day to say that he'd been wearing it since the beginning of the day for hours. He'd sprayed it at 7 AM in the morning, and hours later he went to have his haircut and his barber loved it, said it smelled really strong and complimented him on it. It's a beast. It's incredible. Please try to smell this. At least get a sample of this, because a lot of you out there I think will really, really enjoy it as much as I do. This next one is a fragrance that I am trying to flog because it's on my website, but the only reason it's on my website is because I enjoy it so much. I discovered this brand at Essence in Milan. I think this is probably my favorite from the brand. This is Turkish Delight from Adcenture. Like an adventure, but you smell good, so it's called Adcenture. Just listen to this note breakdown and you will realize why I love it so much. Elemi, ginger, styrax, coffee, cinnamon leaf, geranium, tobacco, Turkish Delight, benzoin, labdanum, and vanilla. I love it. It smells so natural and exotic. It whisks you away to a Turkish bazaar. It's thick, it's rich, it's warm, it's comforting. All those words I feel like I've mentioned for a lot of the fragrances in this video, but those are characteristics of fragrances that do work really well in the cold weather. Not only can you smell the Turkish Delight, but you can smell the powdered sugar that coats the Turkish Delight. You know, when you open up the tin and you just see the sugar covering the Turkish Delight, and it has that specific sort of sweet smell mixed in with the smell of the Turkish Delight. It recreates that beautifully. There's also a fantastic dry, dusty, slightly smoky smell which helps conjure the images of a street market in a hot country. Delightful stuff from a really new and exciting British brand. There are several fragrances from Adcenture that I adore. I'm going to do a spotlight video on that brand. You should definitely try Turkish Delight if you think your taste in fragrances align with mine, you know, with this sweetness, with the richness, with tobacco, with coffee, that sort of thing. If you want to check the brand out and you don't want to buy a bottle, that's totally understandable. We do have the discovery sets for Adcenture, not Adventure, Adcenture on my website. That's my website, Lux Parfum. Of course, link in description. If you feel like checking it out, you can get a sample to try first. I'm ending the video with an Aaron Terence Hughes fragrance. There are many from his brand that I love. A lot of beast mode fragrances, actually. Onyx, Extreme, Luna, Hard Candy, strong fragrances that last for hours and hours. But the one I'm going to talk about is one of his earliest fragrances, but I keep coming back to this, especially this time of year. It's Tobacco. Warming, sweet, slightly smoky woods, vanilla, and the most gorgeous fresh pipe tobacco. It's warm, it's cozy, all those good things, but it's also a statement maker because it is so strong and long lasting. I think part of the reason for this is maybe the oud in here. Aaron uses oud in a way that I've never smelt in any other fragrance. He's got Burmese oud in this one, and it never smells funky or fecal or animalic. It just smells rich, deep, beautifully smooth, a little bit fruity, very rounded. And I think the secret sauce to this may be this Burmese oud. I feel like it's the engine that's driving the power and the strength of Tobacco. It's one of my favorite tobacco fragrances of all time. Tobacco is an incredible tobacco beast. There are some of my most powerful beast mode fragrances. I purposely put a few on this list that maybe you've not heard of, that maybe you've not checked out. There are a few classic beast mode fragrances that are here, but I've tried to sprinkle it with a few new ones for you. Please let me know if you do try any of these fragrances. What are your best beast mode bottles? Drop those down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. If you like this video, if you found it useful, you know what to do. Hit like, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do all that, I will see you in the next video, you beasts. Bye.